What is going on, everybody? This is the second episode of Yoked Radio. Fresh off the first one, I am joined with Tyler. Tyler, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm in pain.
Tyler is in pain. He's moving into his nursing home. He's getting his canes ready, buying all the tennis balls put on the bottom of them. That leads into what we're going to talk about today. Today is going to be pretty much an overview of injuries and maybe misfortune that has plagued both Tyler and I over the past couple years, and then kind of go into maybe what caused that, and ways that you guys can avoid that, because nobody wants to get injured. I think a lot of people sometimes accept that some pain and little aches are just kind of come along with weight training, but there's definitely ways that we can prevent that and avoid it. But first off, to start off, would you work out today? Are you working out today? Or have you already worked out?
The only thing I'm working out today is the spoon to my mouth and with the ice cream I have in front of me right now, because I don't give a shit today.
That's fine.
I was gonna do some arms. I don't know. I'm still contemplating on doing that because it doesn't hurt my back. But my workout today consisted of me going to the trainer and having him do some stem to my lower back, because it feels like someone took a baseball bat to me and I could not hardly walk. It feels terrible.
So what is stem exactly?
It's I don't really know what it stands for, but it takes these electromagnetic pulses, and they put it on your muscles.
Okay.
They put it on your muscles, and it makes you it just contracts the muscles for you.
Yeah, I actually.
So I did that.
I bought one of those. Remember?
Okay. Yeah, you did. Yeah, I did. So no, I sat there for 20 minutes on the one, and I finished it. And he's like, well, I guess it was turned all the way up and it wasn't powerful enough. So I'm like, oh, great. So I have to do it again. So he moved me to the next one, and I had to do it again for like another 20 minutes. He's like, oh wow, you got a pretty high pain tolerance. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just sitting here and you're pushing buttons and it's contracting my muscles.
Yeah.
And so it was fun. I did that. Then it made me do some stretches. Oh, freaking heck. Stretching for... He set a timer, like a table timer you have at home.
Yeah.
He sat next to me. He's like, all right, I want you to do a hamstring stretch for 10 minutes. I'm like, what?
10 minutes?
10 whole minutes for just hamstrings. And he's like, yeah, it takes about 30 minutes for your muscles to actually elongate. And that's something... I mean, flexibility is a big thing that people don't have nowadays. And they don't understand that you can't just like touch your toes for 10 seconds. Like, oh, heck yeah, I'm getting flexible. I can really bend like Gumby. No, it doesn't work that way. But
so what portion of your back is there? I actually haven't even asked you about this, so I'm honestly asking, like, what part hurts?
Yeah, it's my lower left side. It's like on the back of my. Okay, this is what he told me. It's like on the back of my pelvis. He told me my pelvis is out of line, and apparently that's pretty common. I mean, if somebody says your bone's out of alignment, you think, holy balls, I gotta like go in, fix that from the doctor, go to a chiropractor. I don't know. He said he'd fix me up in a few days, so we'll see.
Actually, our roommate had that. She had to go to physical therapy once a week for it. And hers was pretty bad. But so when did this? I know that have you been having back pain, or was this like all of a sudden?
Well, I had back pain in the exact same spot on my right side, like prior to this, but it hasn't. It's been about a month or so since it's come up.
Yeah.
I mean, I did squats on Tuesday, and I felt a little bit tight after that, but I had practice on Wednesday, and I felt fine. Like, we ran and everything. I was swinging a bat, and I felt normal.
Right.
We had a bus. We went to Atlanta this past weekend for baseball, so we had a 9-hour bus ride, and it was like a decent bus. I mean, it was a travel bus. You see like a bunch of like sports teams and stuff take. It was comfortable and stuff, but I don't know, maybe that led to part of my back problems, because it's sitting in awkward positions for 9 hours isn't very comfortable. But Friday, we had a game. I started that game. Felt fine. Saturday, started game 1. Felt kind of a tweak. Started game 2. Felt a little bit more of a tweak. Then on Sunday, started that game. And I couldn't hardly move. Like my back was just shot. Like I couldn't hardly walk out to the catching position.
So
And it just hurt so bad.
do you think this is an injury stemming from the weight room, or do you think this was from your time on the field? Or do
Man, I
do you
mean,
really not know at this point?
probably all relates back to the weight room in all honesty, because you mess up one thing, I mean, it may not pop up right away, but it could pop up eventually with more stuff that you do. I mean, I'm a catcher, so I'm always squatting down, hunched over a little bit. Maybe that had the effect on it. It just kind of opened up the gateway for it to just kind of spread through my back.
Now, do you
And swinging and stuff,
go ahead. You can go.
like that doesn't help any either, because you're opening up your hips and like you're twisting your back a lot when you swing a bat, obviously. So
That one day I played softball, my like obliques were so sore the next day. Like I couldn't figure out what happened, and it was just because of swinging the bat.
your oblique, man, mine don't ever hurt.
Well, I mean,
that's-
it
I
might
guess
not
I've
have been
been
like
for-
my specific obliques. It was just like both of my sides, like just from the twisting and stuff, and jumping up, like reaching up to catch a ball or whatever. I was sore, man. I was
So you playing
surprised.
softball, it still blows my mind.
Yeah, they were supposed to have a practice on Saturday. It was funny because when Kelsey and I went that Saturday, she was like, "Oh yeah, it's just people like from my unit getting together and playing." And then we showed up, and it was like a practice for the team. They're trying to like get a team together. So we ended up like
That's awesome.
we just started scrimmaging, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're just having fun." And then we broke off, and they were like, "All right, outfielders out there, infielders in here." And they were like hitting balls and doing drills and stuff, and I'm just standing there, and they're like, "Josh, what are you?" And I'm like, outfielder." And they're like, "All right, go to the outfield." So we like literally ran drills and stuff, and I'm like, "Well, I haven't ran drills since high school soccer. Like, what is this?" But no, it was good. It's been so long since I played organized sports. What are you raking at?
my ice cream.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're spoon to mouth.
I'm literally eating.
day.
I'm eating ice cream because I'm sad. But
Anyway, that was off topic. What I was gonna ask you was, as as someone like yourself who's firsthand witnessing collegiate sports, first of all, how many people are on your team? How many guys you got on your team? That's everything.
jeez.
Reserve, squad, bench, not just starters, just the whole everyone.
42.
And how many, if any, would you say are injured on average at one time?
Well, this past weekend we had two kids pop their hamstrings. Our other catcher took a ball to the face last week of practice, so he was out. A couple of arm problems with our pitchers consistently. I'd say about 5. Well, now on average, I mean, right now we have about 5, but on average maybe 2 to 3. It's not that bad.
Okay.
But
yeah.
if you're NCAA, you can only have 34 people on your actual roster, so we have a good bit of red shirts and reserves and stuff.
Yeah.
And we can only have 28 that are on like the travel list. So even with those 34, you can't have all of them. You can only
Yeah,
have
you
28.
can't
That's
bring
max.
all 34. Okay.
So
So now I know, like you were saying, which I agree with. I think a lot of people tend to really overlook stretching and warming up. I know I have for years. It's something that I've only recently, which I'll talk on about more here in a few minutes. But I've only recently started investing actual time in stretching and everything. But do your coaches and your trainers, I mean, before you guys practice or whatever, how much stock do they put in stretching and warming up? I mean, I remember warming up for, when we played on the high school soccer team. I mean, we did like our little 5-minute like dynamic stretches, like the skips and the knee raises and stuff. But I mean, do you find that at the collegiate sport level, you guys put a lot more stock in that, or do you find that there's still lacking in that area of actually getting you ready for games and for practices and stuff, or is that kind of left up to you guys?
I mean, it's left up to us for the most part, but I feel as if it's lacking still. Like, we need to do more. We need to stretch afterwards, too.
Yeah.
But nobody ever does that.
That's-
But no,
yeah.
stretching before is... Okay, I mean, the talk now is dynamic over static. I mean, static apparently does something to you elongate your muscles, and it's just bad for a
static.
sport. I mean, that's
from,
good.
Yeah, from what I understand, static stretching is. I think static stretching is more beneficial. I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it's more beneficial after exercise.
Yes, that's
from-
what I've read
yeah.
everywhere and been told. So
I know pertaining to weight training, static stretching is actually bad for weightlifting and power. Like you're not supposed, if you're about to compete in a powerlifting meet, you don't want to go static stretch all your major muscle groups because it actually diminishes your power output for some reason. I don't know the exact science behind it, but you would still think, for you guys, they would at least invest a lot more time in having you guys dynamic stretch. I'm surprised that you guys don't do that a lot.
I mean, maybe it takes us maybe 5 minutes, like in high school soccer. We do less here. I mean, I do stuff on my own after we're done getting loose as a team because it's just not enough for me particularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't do enough as a team, I don't think. And especially after games, we honestly all should just go to a weight room or go to just someplace and stretch. It'll be so much more beneficial, and everybody would be. I feel like they'd be less prone to injury.
Well, it's really funny because I feel like there's almost this big knowledge gap with stretching because it seems like you have a lot of high school and even college athletes where stretching isn't emphasized that much and it's not really talked about, and it seems like there's no stretching. But then you go to like I know I've been to several professional soccer games, and they will, no joke, spend like 30 to 45 minutes on the sidelines and on the field before a game just dynamic stretching and jogging, and you'll see substitutes warm up. They'll start warming up before halftime even hits, and they might not go in until there's 20 minutes left in the game. And it's like where along the line did we transition from no emphasis to okay, obviously all the pros are doing it and the professionals have trainers emphasizing it. And I'm not saying this is across the board. Obviously there are going to be high schools maybe with we went to a pretty small high school. We didn't really have a fully trained training squad or anything.
Yeah.
And obviously you're going to have, probably Division I schools putting a lot more effort into it, but it's important for everybody. There's people, and you have teams and individuals that are getting involved with weight training and knowing how to do a deadlift before they even know how to actually properly warm up and stretch before that. So I've always found that really interesting. Just how, how there seems to be this giant gap of stretching is minimally emphasized, and then all of a sudden it's very much a key factor at the pro level, but somehow it's missed out along the line. So
No, I feel that completely because like in high school you had one guy, one trainer typically that did everything for every sport. Here, even at Fairmont, we have 6 people maybe. I think 6 of us. Collegiate level, you have teams working around the clock. Like you have our football team's in the weight room when I was down there, in the training room at 12 o'clock. They're always in there. We have 16 different sports that are always constantly working. The soccer team just started their spring season and stuff. So, they're always doing something. 6 trainers is kind of on the low end, I feel, for over 300 athletes, I'd say.
Yeah, that is. You guys aren't a huge school, but still, that's not a lot.
No, honestly, from Division II to Division I, you can't. There's not that many more sports. I think Division I has 14 sports apiece. I don't even know what it is for sure, but there's really not that big of a difference in the amount of athletes at a school compared to. They might have they'll probably have a rifle team and a water polo team, but
there's weird sports that nobody knows about.
yeah, like underwater basketball team. I don't know, something stupid like that, but.
But no, you make a great point that the number of athletes and the number of main core sports is not changing from division to division, but the quality of the quality and the amount of trainers and the emphasis on proper I don't know, I guess etiquette would be the right word, the proper warming up and stretching. There is a big difference, even though you have the same number of people competing. So I think that especially in team sports, weight training in individual sports, whatever, that's up to you. But when you have all of these kids in their late teens, early to mid 20s, really, you're a sophomore, and I'm sure would you agree that as a sophomore, you've already seen the physical toll that playing collegiate sport can, put on your body? It's a lot of stress.
Yeah, in high school, if you're an athlete, you can play. In college, you have to go above and beyond being just an athlete. You have to,
right?
You have to go. I mean, I didn't, like I said in the last podcast, I didn't lift in high school very much, and now I'm in the gym 5 days a week. I should probably cut it back still. I mean, I'm not gonna go today because I say a tub of ice cream, but
That would be all the more reason to go to the gym.
nah, that's cool. We only had 3 buffets this weekend, so it was cool.
Oh,
That's
okay,
cool.
there
It was
you go.
fun. Yeah. Um, but you got to put in the extra work. You can't just be an athlete anymore. You have to just go above and beyond because you can't compete with all the other athletes that came from high school.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
in
like a
high
6 point.
school, if you were, sorry, go ahead.
I think there's like 6.7 college athlete. I mean, high school baseball players that make it to the next level. That's 6.1%. So that's not even one. I mean, not even 1 in 10 of your kids in high school are going to go. I was the only kid that my senior year out of 6 seniors that went. So I mean that kind of makes sense because it's 1 of 6. But
Yeah, but
it's
I mean, if you think
yeah.
about it in high school, it was, oh, you're tall, you're gonna play basketball. Oh, you have a wide
Yeah.
frame, you're gonna be a linebacker on the football team, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll go with it. But once I'm sure there was quite a few people, and I remember you even said on the last podcast too, you had people telling you had to get bigger and you had to get stronger, and that's just how it is. There's no more. Obviously, talent and genetics will play a role, but once you move up to that level, you have to be the whole package and the real deal.
Yeah.
And you would think that at that level, teams and schools would want to take care of their real deals and their packages and
Yeah.
and stretch and warm up. So I know we kind of have rambled off topic a little bit, but I think it still pertains to where there should be more of a vested interest in that. Now, I know this is today and very recent as far as the current injury you're talking about, but have you had anything past, couple years besides that, injury-wise?
Um, I mean, from baseball, I mean, my arm has always had a little bit of wear and tear. My elbows always, geez, it's been hurting. My elbow's been hurting me for probably about 10 years now. Um, my yeah, yeah. My shoulder, as of last year and getting more into lifting, it started to hurt more. But other than that, okay, well, my knee, my right knee is pretty much dead half the time. I remember I finished catching a tournament. This was probably I was 14 years old, I think, maybe 15. So I'm sophomore going into junior year, I think. Our last tournament of the year. I caught 6 games in 3 days, I think. Oh, it was brutal.
That's a lot.
And I remember that last game, I just felt a pop in the inside of my knee, and I couldn't walk for a week. I was sitting there. I remember sitting downstairs with ice bags on both my knees, like, wow, I can't hardly move. It was something, and that injury on my right knee has come with me forever. I mean, it hurts. It hurts after I run long distances. If I squat for a long that period of time, it kind of gets stiff. But I've been pushing through it a lot, honestly. It'll probably go away eventually. I have to put a screw in there, maybe. Maybe I'll just get myself, take a nail and hammer it in.
When you're
but,
40, have a whole knee replacement.
pretty much. But then other than that, my senior, no, I think it was my junior year of high school is when when was it? It was either my junior or senior year of high school that I tore my quad, and I have a bump on my quad from I tore it week after week. Like this
Probably
thing never got
scar
better.
tissue that's filled in there.
And yeah, so like if you look at my leg, there's like a bump on my leg from where scar tissue and stuff, and it just never went away. And it was painful, let me tell you. Trying to sprint and play soccer,
Yeah.
and it just killed. I don't remember if it was my junior or senior year. I think it was my senior year, because it
Probably.
was my senior year, and it sucked. But I think that was really the only injuries I ever really experienced so far in my life.
So do you find, sorry, I feel like I'm asking a lot of questions, but you're a good example of
That's
this
fine.
since you play college sports and everything, so it's more applicable than it is to me. But do you find that, and not even just in college, in high school too, did you ever consider, getting it looked at or going to a doctor, or was there sort of this fear of like, oh, if I get it checked out and they tell me, I got to be out for 3 months, I won't be able to play? I mean, is that do you have that constant like circle going on in your head of like, the cause and effect? Like, oh, it hurts. I want to get it checked out, but then I can't play.
Yeah. There's a point in time in everybody and this happens to everybody, that when the pain is just too much, I play through the pain. I say freaking screw it and I play through it. But with my back, there was just a point in time that I'm like, wow, I've never experienced this kind of pain before. In my back, I have to have somebody check it out. And for my quad, I had an MRI done for that. They just told me it was torn and everything. They wanted to make sure it wasn't a tumor, that bubble it was I was telling you about.
Yeah.
They just wanted to make sure it wasn't a tumor in there for some reason. But there is just a certain point in time when you have to realize, okay, this is not getting better. It's just getting worse. I got to check it out, or else I might be injured for life, because you can hurt yourself for life. You can break things in your body that you cannot fix.
No, well, you hear it all the time. You
so,
hear all these guys that are, only in their 40s and 50s, and they're having knee surgery and hip replacements, and they're like, well, yeah, I played 4 sports in high school, and I probably did this, and I probably broke that bone, when I was 20, but didn't get. And my dad is a great example of that. He's had several. He had one a few months ago. He fell out of a deer stand, a tree stand, and
oh, you're telling about that?
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I cracked a couple ribs and didn't go to the doctor for it. And he's always telling me, yeah, he's always telling me about how like he broke one of his fingers or something, and he was at the doctor like 15 years later, and they were like, oh, when'd you break your index finger? And he's like, oh, when I was 24 or whatever, and it's. But all of that, comes with baggage, and if you don't, yeah, obviously playing collegiate sports and weight training and everything is going to take a toll on your body, but it's how you react to some of those injuries that really determines how it impacts you for life. So, I'm not saying that you need to run off to the doctor for every little thing. Clearly you're going to have to play through some of it. That's just how it is. That's the nature of competitive sports. I remember doing that in soccer. Everybody does it at some point if you are committed enough, but there is a point with certain things where you got to take a step back and say, okay, what's going to be more important here, me playing in this next game or the well-being, of my sports career or my future health?
Yeah.
So,
if you you can take a medical red shirt in college if you get injured during the season, and you'll save that year, which is something that some people should do because it'll increase the longevity. You could, because if you don't do that and you don't tell somebody, you could be done. You could. Oh my, hang on. All right, there's crackling there.
No, you're good.
You could be done for your entire career instead of putting off one season, and you get that season back the next year. So, or there's always option number 2: get some cortisol shots and call it a day, and just completely destroy whatever body part you have that shot in, but you won't feel it for a while, like maybe a week or so, but you'll be fine.
Cortisol shots, I know those are widely, well, maybe not widely, those are used a lot in pro baseball, aren't they? A lot of pro baseball players.
Yeah, because you're making millions of dollars, like, yeah, heck with my life when I'm 50 years old. If I can't think straight, I'll be all right, whatever. I'm making millions right now. I don't even know what the long-term effects are, like, just bad stuff.
Cortisol is a steroid. It's just not an anabolic steroid, but it just attacks and gets rid of inflammation. Yeah, but cortisol's allowed. But that good old testosterone's not.
HGH.
That's not testosterone.
I don't even know what that is. I just know it's a steroid.
No, it's human growth hormone. Which, that right there, oh man, I could go on for hours about that. We will have a podcast episode about performance enhancing drugs. Yeah, I'm hyped up for that. But as far as me personally, I was just asking you a lot of questions just because you're a prime example of injury related to sports and stuff. I haven't played sports since high school. But as far as, injuries for me go, the only really, I guess, injury I had checked out was I did sprain an ankle during a season of travel soccer. We had a tournament, and I had sprained it, to the point where, like, I needed help off the field. Like, I couldn't really play through it. and I wore like they're called air casts. It was actually super comfortable. I kind of wish I still had it. But I wore an air cast for several weeks. And it was my right ankle I sprained. I don't really have any lasting effect from that. You always hear people say like, oh, I sprained or broke this and now my knee pops every time I move it like this. I don't really have that. As far as lifting pertaining injuries, I mean, I've definitely strained plenty of muscles. I think everybody strains muscles at some point. One weird thing I have is my right shoulder sits probably a couple or a few inches lower than my left side.
Yeah.
Which sounds really funny, thinking about it, but it's actually really impacted me. It's made my bench press kind of weird just because of the way my shoulders sit, and it puts a little more strain on my right one because it does sit lower. I actually have one pec that's a little differently shaped than the other. It's actually really started to bug me recently. That's kind of why I switched to doing some dumbbell presses and trying to develop the other one. And I really should go get it checked out. I've asked a few people that I know that are in physical therapy, and they said it could be due to a number of things. It could be due to one side, my traps, my trapezius being too tight on one side and raising one shoulder, or too low on the other side, lowering it. So at the moment, it hasn't caused me significant trouble to really do anything, although I'm sure at some point I'll get it checked out. But I have, my right shoulder, like I said, it does take a little more stress. So I have had some shoulder injuries there. So every once in a while, stuff like dumbbell shoulder press will be difficult, or overhead press. But most of the time, I can train 100% on that. The main thing that I wanted to bring up, though, about stretching was I am not a flexible person at all. I'm probably one of the least flexible people that you'll meet. And it's mainly my lower body. So my hamstrings and my hip flexors are really tight. And I used to have I still have occasionally, but I used to have lower back pain that was a lot worse than it was. And I always chalked it up to, that's just the nature of training. That's what weightlifting does. But you should never live with something like that. I mean, if you're having pain outside of lifting on a daily basis, then it's not typically normal.
Me.
Yeah, Tyler, for example. But the probably past few weeks, close to a month now, I've been really consistent every single day, just for a few minutes. Not what Tyler's trainer said. I'm not sitting down, stretching my hamstrings for half an hour every day. But for a few minutes, I'll lay on the floor and I'll do some hamstring exercises. And I've also learned a few hip flexor exercises to stretch a muscle called the psoas major, which is a big component of your hip flexors. Not only has that done wonders for my tightness, but it's done wonders for my form, especially on my squats. One biggest issue on my squats I always get a lot of tension in my lower back, and I can never, it's almost like my hips don't fully unhinge, like I can't do an ass to grass squat. Like it's always barely parallel, and it's very uncomfortable. But ever since I've been doing these stretches, I noticed about a week and a half ago, I threw some really, really lightweight on the bar. Like, I'm talking like 135. Like, there was nothing on it. And it was my warm-up set. And I kind of noticed that all of a sudden I was able to go all the way down. Like, it felt good. And I felt like I was engaging my butt, my hamstrings, and my quads more in the squat. I've been a quad-dominant lifter, but once your hips sort of unhinge, as I say, and you can go all the way down, you feel like you engage more. So I was like, okay, usually I stick to like 225 to 285 for like sets of 5. Like I said, my squat's always been really bad. And I did I did like 225 for 8, felt really solid. I did 275 for 6, felt really solid. I did 285 for 5. Like I was just pounding them out. Like it felt really good. So I did that again a few days ago for my leg day. Still felt really good, and I'm hoping that sort of leads into a better squat for me, because like I said, with my form and the stress that I feel on my back because I'm not using my legs the way I should, it's just always sucked for me. So if anything, if you're one of those people that I don't need to stretch, I'm fine, if anything, do it for the sake of your form and for the sake of lifting more weight, because
I agree.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you don't think about and you don't feel like you need, and then you're going to be 50 years old and you're going to have problems and you're going to regret it, or you will have been lifting with improper form for the last 30 years and not even known it. So if you're a new lifter, I would recommend learning how to stretch and how to warm up before you even touch a weight. And if you're an intermediate lifter, like me and Tyler, and you've been weight training but you're getting some aches and pains, you better start stretching. And that's, I think consensus is, what did we say? Static stretching at the end, maybe dynamic at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I don't really know how to do is the dynamic at the beginning. I've started incorporating some light movements, and you always see people in the gym doing like weird crap with their shoulders for dumbbells. There's this guy in my gym, he grabs like 5-pound dumbbells and does these weird like arm swings with them. I don't know what he's doing, but I should probably learn. But
yeah.
I don't know. I need to get like a dynamic stretch routine down just for a few minutes. I've kind of started doing some stretches. Like I always walk on the treadmill for 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning to warm up. So usually I've started incorporating some stretches, but
disgusting treadmills.
Well, I don't know. I at least walk to warm up. Like I used to just jump right into weight training.
I can't even walk without my back hurting.
Well, there you go. The Tyler Hill, our living case of stretching and
pretty much.
But yeah, I think that's really, like I said, I haven't necessarily had any injuries. I just really wanted to stress the stretching and the warming up, and for your form and everything. So, but once we, like I said, I've been kind of working on trying to put together a dynamic routine. But if you guys need ideas for stretches to do, just shoot us an email. Or I don't know if we said it in the last one, but our email is yokedradio@gmail.com. It's all lowercase. Let us know if you guys want to talk about anything, want us to talk about anything, or if you want recommendations for something. We'll give you, whatever advice that, we have, and we feel it would help. But yeah, so once we, I know I'd like to come up with like a dynamic weightlifting routine, and I think a lot of people need help with that. So maybe we'll do like a follow-up episode here in a few with that, and we can go over that. But I think we were going to move into supplements for the first time on our 2-episode podcast so far.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, yeah. One thing that we kind of want to do, we figured it would be nice to do, is maybe go over like one supplement every other episode. Because I think, again, very similar to warm-up and stretching, supplements are sort of an area that people either know nothing about or they think they know everything about, and they just kind of take whatever is recommended to them or take whatever they grab off the shelf without really knowing what it does. So, if we cover one thing per episode, maybe that'll help you guys out. Supplements in general. Now, Tyler, you don't really take a lot, or you haven't taken a lot, if I remember correctly.
Nope, not really at all. Pre-workout, I have stuck with coffee for pretty much my entire lifting career. I do have pre-workout. I do take it sometimes, but I don't know. I don't take that often.
But you just stuck to like protein, right? You taking creatine once or twice?
Okay, yeah. Actually, man, I went to Walmart, bought the Walmart creatine. I took all of that. I don't even know how many servings are in that. That was probably about a year ago. Protein, I guess protein's considered a supplement, I guess. Everybody says it is. I don't know. But I've always taken that. I've always taken protein. Protein's been like the only thing I've taken consistently over, I don't even know, 4 years of what I've been lifting. But, I guess it works. The only problem with that is I don't have a counter argument to say that it doesn't work because I've always taken it. So,
one thing
I would say go for it.
Yeah, one thing that I've heard a lot from people is they noticed the benefit of a supplement they were taking once they came off of it. Like, I think a lot of people will get on something and then they're like, oh, this doesn't do anything, I can't feel it, and then they'll stop taking it and then realize what it was doing. So I don't know if you noticed anything or not. I know you've been off and on from it, but and you guys have probably heard people say this before, but as far as supplements go, you don't need them. And no matter what anybody's trying to says, whether they're trying to sell you something or they're recommending it, there's nothing that you need. You need to eat protein, but you don't have to get it from protein powder. So,
no.
over the course of this entire, podcast, we're going to talk about a lot of supplements and what they do, and we're probably going to recommend something or say it's great, but you don't have to spend money on supplements. So
No,
the one I think we were going to cover
might
today
be
was,
easier.
Yeah, I mean, it might be easy to use them, and you might like them, but you don't need them. So, did I mention that I worked at GNC in the first podcast?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Yeah, so we get a lot of samples of new stuff, and we get to try a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of stuff, so I can kind of give my opinion on a lot. But I think we were going to talk about protein today. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I guess I don't know. I don't want to say that I know more than you, but I guess I can cover some of the basics behind it. Protein is it is different from mass gainer, so don't confuse a protein supplement with mass gainer. But protein for most people is going to be taken after you work out. I mean, you guys probably already know, but it's good for recovery. And
Building block for muscle.
Building block for muscles. You have the amino acids and the protein. A lot of people, though, the issue they run into is, well, which one should I take? And there's all this different verbiage and words out there. You're going to see 100% standard whey. You're going to see whey isolate. You're going to see whey hydrolysate. You're going to see casein. You're going to see soy protein. There's vegan, plant-based protein, vegan protein, pea protein. There's all this different stuff. We just get this out of the way. If you're not vegan, there's really no reason for you to take vegan or plant-based protein over whey protein. To an extent, protein is protein, but also to an extent that's wrong. If you're a beginner lifter or even an intermediate lifter, or you're just looking for a form of protein,
Body Fortress.
Yeah, to take. I mean, I'm not going to talk you out of Body Fortress or plant-based protein, but if you are competing at an elite level, or you are competing in a show, or you want the cleanest possible thing you can get that's going to work for you, there are actually some studies coming out. I know one of them was done in rats by Dr. Lane Norton. I've been following him a lot. He has a PhD in nutrition. He did a really cool study on different types of protein, and what he found was, I think it was like whey protein, soy protein, and then there was like another plant-based protein. But for long-term use in terms of muscle development, whey protein was, I think, by far the best one. I think soy protein did okay with building muscle, but I think it was either slower or it didn't last as long. I forget. I just know that whey protein was the best. So if you're a vegan, that's fine. There's vegan protein. There's vegan gainers if you want a vegan mass gainer. But if you're not vegan, you don't have a milk intolerance or a lactose issue. Even most whey isolates are lactose free. But really, there's not an issue with whey protein. Now, Tyler mentioned Body Fortress earlier. I know that. And what's the other Walmart brand? 6 Star? Is it 6 Star Nutrition?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is. There's...
Yeah, I think it is, actually.
Like I said, I think the biggest saying right now is protein is protein. It doesn't matter what you take. And that is true to an extent. I mean, if you just want a cheap protein, that's fine. But you do have to realize that some of those cheaper ones might have more filler in it than some of your cleaner ones. And if it's not a whey isolate, if it doesnn't say like isolate or hydrolysate on it, if it just says standard protein, the amount of protein might not be what's on the label, because they can use a lot of sneaky tricks to do that. They might say it's 20 grams of protein, but if you would test and break it down, there might actually only be like 12 grams of true protein. I'm just spouting numbers off the top of my head, but that's the idea behind it. Is some cheaper proteins won't be as clean. Now, I know that Body Fortress does have a whey protein isolate, which I looked up and actually gets pretty good scores on Labdoor. Labdoor is like a have you heard of Labdoor?
No.
It's a
no idea.
It's a website, but there's tons of supplements ranging from protein to fish oil to pre-workouts, and they pretty much have tested like the purity, what the label claims, all that stuff. And the Body Fortress whey protein isolate actually does pretty well in their standards. So
would you call it Lab what?
It's called Labdoor. So the word lab, Lab, L-A-B, and then door, D-O-O-R.
I'm gonna see what my Body Fortress thing I have right now. Then let me check that out real quick.
Is it your gainer?
Yeah.
None of the gainers really get great ratings just because they
No.
pretty much are filler. um, I mean, gainers. I mean, there's not really a thing as a clean gainer. I mean, how you can only be so clean with 800 or 900 calories. But with protein, if you are shopping around for a protein, if you don't want to necessarily break the bank, but you're looking for something that's not a cheapo Walmart brand or that's a little bit cleaner, just look for the keywords I talked about earlier, like whey protein isolate or whey protein hydrolysate. I know, a lot of people like the Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard. That's not a bad protein. Dimetize has an isolate, ISO 100. That's not a bad protein. GNC just released a pure isolate that's sort of rivaling the Dimetize ISO 100. These, these are all decent ones that are also a good price. As far as the gainers go, weight gainers to me are like a whole nother perspective of eating in real food, because you can argue to a point with whey protein. You can always replace whey protein with real food, and to an extent, real food is going to be probably more nutrient rich and better for you. But like a whey protein isolate or hydrolysate is absorbed and digested by your body incredibly quickly. So you could argue to an extent that a 20 to 40 gram protein powder would be more beneficial for recovery than cooking up a chicken breast. Not to mention takes a lot less time to shake up a shake. But with a weight gainer, that is kind of debatable. At that point, you might want to look at your diet and kind of decide, like, can I fit more calories in? Do I have the money to spend on food? Because gainers can get pretty expensive. So I know, Tyler, you have the Body Fortress Gainer. Do you have a protein powder right now you're taking?
I have a few, actually. I have Gold Star, the one you gave me, actually. Is that what that is, Gold Star? The vanilla?
Star.
Gold something. Gold label. I don't know. Gold.
It's Gold Standard, that Optimum Nutrition stuff.
Gold Standard. Yeah, it tastes like absolute dog crap because there's no flavor at all to it. You're better off with just freaking...
I think that might be... I don't know if it's... Did you see if it's expired?
No, I don't care. Are you kidding me? I don't care. I'll take it anyway. 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of protein. Actually, 25 grams of protein. So...
What's the other ones that you have?
I have My Protein. I have chocolate and I have vanilla. I like My Protein. My Protein has been a solid source of cheap protein. I mean, I don't know what the reviews are off My Labs or whatever.
They're actually not bad. Their standard protein does pretty well. They do have a whey protein isolate, and then they have like an even cleaner isolate that's like ISO 97, and that actually gets really good reviews. But yeah, I have a big bag of the regular protein. That's always done well for me. I have a bunch of tubs that I got on a big clearance from MHP. Not many people know who they are, but it's like a blend of, it's like a time release blend protein. But it's not too bad. But I've tried other stuff. I mean, I've had all the GNC ones. I've had Optimum. There's so many. I mean, you can only do so much with protein.
The only ones I've stuck with My Protein. I mean, heck, I have a bag of 11-pound My Protein. I've had that for over a year now, honestly.
Yeah, those last.
Probably not a good idea. You just said you kind of just finished your bag finally. Like that was like a month ago, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, My Protein. I mean, their bulk protein lasts forever.
Yeah, if you're looking to buy a lot at once for a decent price, they always have promos going on that are pretty good. I think
they're pretty solid.
I'm pretty sure I got my 11-pound bag for like between $60 and $70.
Mm-hmm. I did. Yeah, that's how much I got mine for.
Yeah, and I know this second bag I bought, I went through a lot quicker because the first one I bought, I was pretty inconsistent with taking it, but this second bag I've been pretty consistent on 1 to 2 scoops a day. So this one I'm going through a lot quicker, but it's still like, I think it's like 200 and something scoops. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I got a gainer from My Protein as well, which was, I mean, it had, I mean, sure, if you follow the label and you take 3 scoops, 800 calories, like that's just dumb.
Right.
I mean, if you mix it with milk like I do, I mean, you can get, I think it was like 200 per scoop, 200 calories per scoop. You mix it with milk, you can get I don't know, 400 calories, pretty easy. You don't need all that other stuff. You can make it last longer that way. That's what I do, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I would say final verdict wise on protein. I think if you are a really competitive, athlete and you weight train a lot or you have a lot of stress, putting a lot of stress on your body, I don't think protein is necessarily like a wonder supplement or it's not magic or anything. But if you find that maybe it's hard for you to get protein in your diet, maybe you don't feel like eating chicken and rice 10 times a day, it can definitely be a viable option. There's nothing wrong with it. I know a lot of times I like using mine for like meal replacers too. Like I'll make a big ass smoothie with like bananas, frozen fruit, Greek yogurt. You can make your own gainer shake with just protein. You don't have to spend $50 on a 5-serving tub of gainer. Just throw some bananas and fruit and peanut butter and yogurt, and there's your gainer. So you can use it for meals and stuff like that. But I always just use it because it's something easy to do after the gym. And it is good for recovery. Protein in general is so. You could always just eat a meal after you work out. But like I said, the whey protein is definitely quickly absorbed and digested. If you get a good one, obviously that's preferable, but you don't have to break the bank with it. And the other thing is too, there is a flip flop there of not everyone needs it either. I mean, I've actually bought a tub of Body Fortress from Walmart. It was my first protein ever. It tasted terrible.
I like it.
But that was like right after I had started working out. And at that point, in hindsight, I'd probably say that I didn't need it because looking back on like the intensity that I was working out and how just the lack of knowledge that I had about working out, it wasn't really necessary. So with protein, it's pretty innocent, no harm, no foul. But you don't want to end up taking something that's super high in caffeine or that really hits your body hard that you don't have any experience with if you don't need it. So, don't just go off of your best buddy's advice because, oh, he's huge and he takes this, so if I take it, I'll get huge. Actually do some research, see what the active components in it are, what it does, who it's meant for. Obviously, if you've been lifting for 3 months, you're not going to take something that's great for recovery time in Olympic athletes. So,
you just gotta be smart.
Yeah, be smart. Don't waste your money. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to waste your money. I mean, if you've got the money to blow, then yeah, you can afford to maybe play around with a few supplements and see how they affect you. But, I mean, as far as the protein goes, I think for most people across the board, it's a staple. And when I say protein, I don't even mean protein. I just mean in your diet in general. I mean, if you're weight training and you're trying to get big and you're trying to get strong, you're going to want a relatively high protein diet. So I would say for most people it's a staple. Just be careful about what you buy. Make sure it's semi-clean, not full of filler. I know pretty much most of the stuff at GNC is pretty good. I know that you can go online and get other stuff, though cheaper, that's just as good. So, shop around, find a deal, see what's in your protein. Don't drink it before you know what's in it. So
you don't need the super expensive stuff either. Like there's protein out there that just is so expensive, stupid, whatever.
It really is really expensive, and sometimes there's beneficial stuff in it. Like I know I won't name brands, but we sell a protein that is, I mean, it tastes really good, and it's got like added probiotics and stuff in it, but it is like, it's close to $70 for 28 scoops, and it's like, just, it's outrageous. I mean, for that price, you could buy a protein, buy your own probiotic, and, for like half the price. So, to an extent, supplements are, the quality is worth the money, but that's to an extent. So just be smart, shop around, and realize that you don't need the best of the best, especially if you're just a casual lifter, or you're just, if you're not competing or anything. But yeah, I think
I agree with that.
Do you have any other comments about anything?
Yeah, it's annoying when you're on Tinder and you're swiping and there's people that pop up from San Diego and not your area. That's kind of annoying.
Oh, okay. It's actually really funny you say that. I have a friend here in Maryland who texted me yesterday, and he was like, dude, somehow my phone got set to my location being in California, and I matched with all these chicks on Tinder in like Santa Barbara or something. And I remember my phone a few weeks ago thought I was in like San Diego. I don't know what it is with. I don't know if it's something with like location services like glitching out.
I don't know.
That's really funny that you said that because that just happened to me. He's like, bro, I just matched with all these chicks from California. And he said he matched with more girls in California than he did here in Maryland. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, this is my theory behind that. If you have a place of more population, there's going to be more attractive people than there are in a smaller location. So the bigger the population is, the more likely of a chance you're going to find an attractive counterpart.
Well, yeah,
that's what
obviously.
I think.
Attractive counterpart. That was a very politically correct way to say that.
Apparently there are not two genders anymore, so... But we won't talk about that.
That has been our episode on protein lifting form dealing with injuries and Tinder. We will go ahead and get off the air before we start talking about things we probably shouldn't. Let us know if you have anything you want us to cover in future episodes, guys. But if not, we will see you next week.
Yep. Peace out.